Us now for an all-out preview of tonight's game against Indonesia is a basketball legend and Sports Desk Basketball Analyst, the one and only point laureate, Coach Ronnie Magsanoc. Coach, good morning and welcome back to Sports Desk.
Morning, Pawi. Thank you for having me again.
Always a pleasure to have you, Coach. Well, before we look into that game against Indonesia, we have to talk about, syempre, yung epic win ng Gilas last Wednesday against South Korea. Coach, what are your thoughts on this?
A very impressive performance by our Gilas national team. Ang dami mong talagang pwedeng i-build on doon sa nangyari, no? In fact, minsan pwede mong sabihin, halimbawa lang, nanalo na tayo, di ba? Maski na hindi tayo nakalusot dun sa labang yon, makikita mo talaga the amount of preparation, the kind of readiness that Coach Tab has built for this unit. Lumabas di ba? Especially after overturning a 17-point deficit. But in the end, our national team was rewarded with that maraming nagsasabi, stunning win. Pero kung makikita mo, actually, we were up by 5 at 75-70 before Korea made a late run na nahabol din natin pagdating dun sa dulo. So talagang from the second quarter onwards, we were able to turn around a slow start. At ang dami mong makikita mong bagay doon na talagang alam mong pinaghandaan at talagang disiplinado nilang ginawa to be able to upend a very tough opponent na yun nga, lagi tayong kadalasan tayo hindi nakakalusot laban sa South Korea.
And you're right, Coach, kasi marami nagsasabi na inexperienced itong team na to, but they really showed that composure in the second half. Pero like what you said, Coach, they were rewarded with a win, and of course, that will give them a confidence boost. At ngayon, sabi nga ni SJ Belangel, they can't be too confident though, kasi baka yun pa nga yung maging rason ng pagkatalo nila dito sa Indonesia. Pero ikaw, Coach, just how confident should Gilas be against Indonesia, especially since lagi naman natin natatalo nga itong Indonesia in other tournaments, lalo na nung first window nitong FIBA Asia Cup qualifiers, tambakan pa nga 100-70.
With preparation comes confidence in winning. Also, it builds confidence. But nakita mo naman si Coach Tab, lamang ang kalaban, nalamangan natin, nanalo na tayo, walang pagbabago yung reaction. And I think that is where the team's cautiously optimistic outlook will set in. No? Kumbaga, even keel lang parate. Not too high, not too low, to be able to handle the task at hand. Kasi minsan, if emotions take over, mahirap makontrol yon pagdating sa laro. Dahil nakaasa ka lang sa emotions mo mahirap mag-isip. But I think this is a unit that is a thinking unit, that is a disciplined unit, and more than that, a unit that trusts the coaching staff to be able to get them to where they would want to. At nakita natin yung litratong yan. At tonight against Indonesia, which would probably offer a different problem, no? If you want to put it that way, kasi may ibang reinforcement, may ibang naturalized player. Although familiar yung ating national team dito sa mga karamihan sa mga manlalarong ito, still, you would not want to let your guard down there. Gusto mo makapuhunan ka na Dahil tandaan natin, pasok na tayo with that win over Korea the other day. Pero down the road, a few days from now, we will also play in the OQT in Belgrade, Serbia. So you want to keep building, you want to keep adding on confidence, and more than that, you want to develop your pool. No? The more minutes that they have, meaning kontrolado mo yung laro, maayos mo yung rotation mo, and the more na mas makakalaro lahat. And therefore, yung development ng lahat, no? Hindi lang yung ilan, mas gaganda, mas bibilis for your assessment eventually as you look down the road a few days from now in the OQT tournament. Tandaan natin, Olympic qualifying yon. Malay mo, may chance pa tayo makarating din. Papunta sa parating na Olympics, it's just a few months from now.
You're right, Coach. And pero syempre, Coach, this Indonesia team is also looking to get their win here in the FIBA Asia Cup qualifiers. Natalo nga sila ng South Korea kahapon. But besides the fact nga, Coach, na nandun si Lester Prosper, 6'10", naturalized player, ano po bang strengths nitong Indonesia na kailangan paghandaan ng Gilas?
They have very good guards. No? Although size and length lamang na tayo sa kanila ngayon, even with what we paraded in our last outing, ang lalaki ng mga bata. Ito, they have an abundant source of good guards who are considerably good outside shooters. In fact, they shot 33% from the three ball against Korea. At nagpamalas din sila ng quickness. No? They were down by as much as 20 as Korea stormed to a 12-0 lead to start the ball game. Pero ito may kakayahan bumalik And the third quarter run also challenged Korea last night. Pero hindi nga nila na-sustain dahil nakabangon dito yung Korea, unlike nung sa atin na hindi sila naka-react ng maayos. Of course, you have to mention sila Arki Wisnu and yung mga familiar names na kilala natin, sila Grahita, sila Lakudu. Maski si Sitorius, these are quite familiar names to our national players already dahil naglalaro yung mga yan talaga. Not just for the pro clubs, but for the Southeast Asian Games and the other regional competitions.
Well, Coach, puntahan po natin yung ating national team nga for this lineup against Indonesia. Nirelease na nga po ng SBP last June 15 pa lang and napag-usapan nyo nga ni Andre yung pag-include kina Jordan Heading, Lebron Lopez, and Jeo Chu. But yesterday, in-update po itong roster and dito nga, as we take a look at our screens, Javi Gomez Del Llano, who wasn't in the original lineup versus Indonesia, was added back, taking the place of Will Navarro. Coach, ano bang magiging ambag ni Javi sa team na to and why him and not Will?
Unang-una, sabi mo nga kanina, Pawi, hindi siya nabigyan ng pagkakataong maglaro ni Coach Tab Baldwin. And I'm sure that was not a part of the plan. I'm sure Coach Tab wanted to put him in the rotation. But yung first 15 minutes ng laban did not go our favor before the turnaround in the second quarter, generated by the spark of the entry of Abarientos. Ito, I think they are seeing that Indonesia might throw an extensive or extended zone defense against us. And remember that Javi Gomez Del Llano was one of our key shooters doon sa second window sa Manama Bahrain. Sila ni Dwight Ramos, yung mga kamador, mga zone busters na tinatawag. So, with his re-entry to the active roster comes a knockdown shooter and also an able defender. So he has the size, he has the range, a perfect complement to yung kung ano man yung kinakailangan natin na outside shooting. Dahil kung merong hindi ginawa yung Korea sa atin dun sa pagharap natin, we never saw them play zone defense against us, which was a surprise dahil normally ito yung bala ng Korea laban sa ating mga national teams ng mahabang panahon.
And syempre, Coach, Javi will really try to prove himself dito sa national team in that game against Indonesia. But, Coach, with our team playing very well against South Korea, nabanggit mo nga kanina the good things about them, yung mga adjustments na ginawa nila, in-game adjustments. Pero is there anything they still need to work on, Coach, lalo na dahil may changes dito sa roster nila?
Every game presents a different challenge. No? It doesn't follow na you were able to play this way. Yun din yung mangyayari kasi naghahanda din yung mga kalaban at nakikita rin kung ano yung kakayahan. Yung strong start probably, that's one thing. But regarding the execution, regarding the direction, makikita mo naman we shot 25 free throws to Korea 6. We turned the ball over 5 times in the first quarter, more turnovers than field goals in the first quarter, but we ended up with only 10. 5 sa first quarter, 2 sa second quarter. Ibig sabihin, in the last 20 minutes, 3 na lang. So, I think yung majority of the things that you want to learn from is yung sa execution, sa ball movement. But other than that, I think the discipline and preparation will offset whatever it is na yung sinasabi nila na youth will be at a disadvantage. But kailangan maisip mo rin na since hindi pa nagpo-pro itong mga to, mas madali pa silang ma-immerse dun sa laro sa international level because they don't have to unlearn anything. Meaning parang sponge pa sila, they absorb everything. So, in transition nila, all they needed was experience and floor time to be able to generate the confidence level that they need to keep in step against the veteran international campaigners such as a very strong team ng South Korea.
Kumbaga, tuloy-tuloy pa rin yung learning journey nitong...
Message si Coach Tab, Pauli, at he knows where he wants to go.
Yes.
He has his soldiers to follow his lead. And I think they were very clear on that, no? All the talk points that they gave. Alam naman natin na eventually it will bounce back to Coach Tab's leadership and direction, no? Kasi importante yun Ano kang plano at ano man ang mangyari, diba? You stay the course, you keep the faith because that is a long-term plan, not just a short-term gain. But a long-term plan for the World Cup of 2023. We're just seeing the first few pages of what Coach Tab has drawn up for this Gilas national team.
Well, you're right, Coach. 2023 FIBA World Cup hosted right here in the Philippines. Yan ang abangan natin. But stay where you are, Coach, because later we'll talk to you again. But for now, we still have with us Sports Desk Basketball Analyst, Coach Ronnie Magsanoc. Coach, tuloy natin yung usapan nga natin. No? This Sunday na po agad magiging rematch ng Gilas at ng South Korea. Coach Ronnie, what will it take for Gilas to score a repeat victory over their longtime rivals?
Naniniwala ako that defensively we have to be solid and consistent once again. Dahil we were able to take away yung pain points ng Korea after really scoring well against us on the inside doon sa unang quarter. In fact, talagang makita mo, they shot nearly 70% from the two ball doon sa umpisa. Pain points 10-2 first quarter pa lang. But we took all that away. And if we take that away, yung aspect na yun ng kanilang opensa, therefore, we just have to make sure that we are able to close out against their shooters because most of their confidence comes from nailing outside shots. Eventually, they finish with 10 of 32, and we forced them to nearly take half of their shots from beyond the arc. Ang kagandahan nun, na siguro baka hindi napansin ng ilan, we defended without fouling. We only gave up 6 free throws to Korea for the entire 40-minute stretch. And if we are able to do this, meaning yung flow ng laro, yung pace ng laro, mabilis, mataas, that will be to our advantage. And on the flip side, pagdating naman sa offense, I thought that beyond the first 14 minutes, we were able to execute better against their defense. And one thing that hurt Korea, aside from the fact that Ricardo Ratcliffe was gassed near the end because he played the entire 40-minute game, we forced him to defend. And as he was trying to conserve energy because he was going to play the full stretch, Ange Kwame was able to hit some shots from beyond the arc. In fact, he had 3 out of the 5 conversions of Team Philippines. So, and Kai Soto also attacked the defense of Ricardo Ratcliffe consistently when he was inside. So, napagod natin siya, and we took away his rim protection. And in the end, that spelled doom for them because our guards were able to get in, and then from off the ball, our bigs were able to secure second chance possessions kasi hindi na niya alam kung anong babantayan niya. Whereas nung first quarter, hindi siya bumabantay eh. Nag-aabang lang siya, nakakapahinga siya. So these are the things that we may be looking at. Although, as I said earlier, every game poses a different challenge because coaches will make the adjustments, players will make the adjustments. Kasi nakita ka na nila, nakalaro ka na nila, whereas dati, sa bagay, pareho naman bulag sa isa't isa given bago yung coach ng Korea, bago yung sistema nila, meron din silang 6 na mga players sa bago, pero tayo nga, 12 o 15 yung ating mga batang players na halos lahat dyan ay bago.
Mm-hmm. And you know, Coach, what made this their first encounter really exciting is come from behind win nga, no? In the first half, Gilas was down as much as 17 points. Pero Coach, you know, is this one of the things that they should work on? How can they avoid a slow start like that one?
I think the pressure initially, no, yung aggressive physical defense ng South Korea forced us to commit 5 turnovers. Yun nga, they played the passing lanes well. They were aggressive with our ball screen offense. And they kept running, no? When you run, hindi mo mahanap yung matchup mo kasi pag nagkamali ka, hindi mo na mahanap dahil nauna na sila eh. So that opens up the 3-point shooters. But these are things that we were able to adjust to because we took care of the basketball after a slow first quarter of which we were down 21-12. Pero kung titignan mo, Pawi, lahat ng quarters after that, nakuha na natin eh. So once again, with ample and confident preparation comes execution. So for as long as the discipline is there, we, I think, can keep in step with them. Now we have to check what they will do in terms of adjustment because if there's one thing na nakita natin na hindi nila nagawa, it was to take that ball deep in the post and attack. Nangyari kasi si Ricardo Ratcliffe, yes, touch the basketball underneath, pero he was always sticking out. But one thing the Philippines was able to do was we were able to defend them one-on-one in the post at times. No, so it took away an open man, and they were not able to read it. But they have seen it for sure, and yun nga, we have to be ready for their zone defense, something that they did not use as a weapon against us in our first meeting.
At syempre, gutom na gutom din, you know, to avenge that loss itong Korea. Coach, but you know, we talked about the adjustments, we talked about the game plan, but let's talk about the players now. Coach, Carl Tamayo had an impressive performance in that game despite his limited time against South Korea. Let's take a look at his stats here. He had 10 points and 1 rebound in 10 minutes on the floor. And in fact, kanya pa nga dapat yung final play, coach, hindi kay SJ Belangel dun sa buzzer-beating na shot with 2.9 seconds left. But should we see more of Carl Tamayo in this game, coach, against South Korea?
The game will dictate kung ano yung magiging rotation ni Coach Tab. Very impressed with Carl Tamayo. Coach Tab has always been very high on Carl Tamayo even before the FIBA competition started, the third window started. 10 points in under 11 minutes. Oo, impressive yon. Pero yung quality ng points, kung kailan, kung ano yung timing, kung ano yung dinala niya, I think those things have to be seen para mas maintindihan kung ano yung value. Ganon din sila Ron J. Abarientos. Hindi lang yung numbers kung hindi yung nangyari at paano nila ginawang mangyari. So, will we be seeing more of Carl Tamayo? Depends on the matchup, depends on the flow of the game, but for sure he will be an integral part of the rotation. Kasi you have a 6'7", 6'8" player who can play the small forward position. That's already a matchup that you control, no? And he showed the ability that he can guard the smaller counterparts, and that's what makes him a double-edged weapon dahil ang atake mo na, may tira pa sa labas, tapos hindi ka masasaktan sa depensa.
So the eyes will definitely be on Carl Tamayo, pero hindi nga lang siya, coach, maraming heroes kumbaga itong Gilas, this young Gilas squad. But Coach Ronnie, balik po tayo sa discussion natin, no? Now, speaking of Kai Soto, alam naman natin, Coach, na niloload management nga po si Kai, and after that game, Coach Tab even mentioned that he noticed easily fatigued itong si Kai. Parang hindi pa siya ready, 3 to 4 minutes he plays on the court and then he gets tired. Let's also take a look at his stats here. He had 11 points, 7 rebounds in 18 minutes of play. So, Coach, ano ba ang assessment mo kay Kai? Should he get more time on the floor?
Once again, that will be dictated by the matchup and the flow of the game. If other people were not impressed by Kai Soto, I was very, very happy na nakalaro yung bata. But more than that, kung ano yung napakita niya. Kasi hindi naman biro yung katapat niya Ricardo Radcliffe yun. And a lot of times, he had that edge in the matchup, except dun sa first na mga unang salang. Kasi tagal siyang hindi naka-ensayo, hindi siya nakalaro, no? Pero 10 days of hotel quarantine, 4 days of home quarantine, and yet you're able to perform that well. Speaks volumes on his commitment. And more than that, his game shape. Kasi hindi madali yun. Ilang araw lang yung ensayo niya. Yet he made key plays, hit key baskets, and he posed as a primary threat against Ricardo Radcliffe. Ilang atake niya Hindi naman siya naglalaro away from the basket. And in fact, in 2 instances at least, he showed us that he can play as a perimeter player when he brought that ball down and attack, facing up and going down. So, remember how young this young man is. Ang napakabata. Pero mula nung nakita ko siya when he played for Ateneo sa Blue Eagles, katulad ng binanggit mo in the winning team, ibang-iba na si Kai ngayon. No? Pati yung lakas ng katawan, pati yung smartness has always been there. I believe he has played beyond his years. Maski naangat na angat siya, alam mo, iba naman yung read niya sa laro. Pero dito, napatunayan mo na yung incremental increase sa development niya, nandun na. So I'm very excited for him and his family and of course Philippine basketball dahil he is committed to be a part of the national program and that will go a long way, no? Not just for a year or two, but in the next decade at least. Diba? Imagine that kind of front line that you have. When Ajo Edo comes in, you already have Ange Kwane, you have Isaac Ko, you have Justin Baltazar, diba? Carl Tamayo as an insurance big. So, maraming pumasok sa isipan ng mga followers na kaya niyang dalhin, no? At ulitin ko, that's just a glimpse into the kind of potential that this young man has. And that will bring to Philippine basketball. Marami pa, no? There will be ups and downs, of course, pero yung positives, hindi mo masusukat siguro. And that comes with this attitude of serving flag and country dahil doon nagsisimula lahat yan.
Coach, ito, last question na po. From a 7'3" player, Kai Soto, let's go to the shorter players, ika nga in this team. SJ Belangel and RJ Barrientos showing up with some small ball versus South Korea. Let's take a look at their stats here. A combined 19 points, 5 assists, and 6 rebounds. Coach, kaano po ba ka-effective itong small ball against South Korea?
Dagdag mo lang dyan, Pawi, dalawang turnovers lang ang nangyari dyan sa ating dalawang players. Si Ronje nga, wala. So, once again, size has never been a question mark for our guards dahil if we have not been blessed with size, at least in terms of skill level and smartness, mayroon. And these two guards, remember, were trusted to active roster because of several injuries that happened along the way dun sa preparation. But they showed that they were ready. And they showed that they worked hard prior to the competition. Hindi ka pwedeng mag-turn on ng switch lamang at sasabihin mo, eto na ako. It has to be done months back. And this is just a testament to the kind of focus that they had, no, to help out. Kasi tandaan natin, hindi lang sila 12 o 15, marami sila sa pool eh. But they were able to perform when they were asked to step up to the plate, no? So, offensively, they became threats. Nakita mo naman yung tira ni SJ Bilangel dun sa dulo. A shot that will be remembered way forward, no? Maski na anong taon na pag-usapan, hindi na mawawala yan sa equation. And then si Abarientos, who was the biggest part when things were not going right for us in second quarter, from the first quarter to the midpoint of the second quarter, he was there to generate a different point of attack, to defend, to force turnovers by good defense. So, ang gandang panuorin dahil tandaan natin, Pawi, sa starter at a guard coming off the bench, they have to complement each other. Kasi magkaibang first unit ng kalaban, magkaibang second unit ng kalaban, and you want to blend with one another. And it's something that we also saw with Belangel and RJ Barrientos. At isa sa mga unang lumapit kay SJ when hit that game winner, it was Abarientos.
Yes.
That also comes with chemistry and cohesion, and that's really heartwarming to see, no? Being happy for one another. But more than that, the ability to play at this level at a very young age, hindi mo maituturo yan ng basta-basta. At makita mo talaga yung dedication nila at yung pag-mentor din, of course, ng coaching staff para maging ready itong dalawang bata natin na players for this very tough competition. Tandaan natin, si RJ has not even played a single fully big game so far in his career. Diba?
You're right, Coach. Very exciting nga naman talaga panoorin itong dalawang to and the rest of the team, especially as they face Indonesia tonight and South Korea again this Sunday. Pero Coach, thank you so much as always for joining us and sharing your insights.
Thank you, Pawi. Thank you, Pawi. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Coach Ronnie. Again, we just had Sports Desk Basketball Analyst, the one and only point laureate, Coach Ronnie Magsanoc. But in tennis,